must constantly look at things in a different way.
The Healthcare Education Transformation Podcast was created by two physical therapists out of the desire to learn more about the different educational roles in physical therapy and healthcare, and how healthcare education works by talking with educational leaders and people with different perspectives within physical therapy and across interdisciplinary lines on how education can be improved to disrupt the status quo of healthcare education. This is our journey, and thanks for listening. Are you a third-year physical therapy student that excels on tests when you have study guides, checklists, and deadlines? With all of the information available about how to prepare for the NPTE, it's easy to get disorganized and not feel prepared going into the big day. NPTE Prep Success is an online course that provides PT students easy-to-use study guides and step-by-step guidance through the NPTE preparation. To learn more, visit kylericeprep.com. Thank you again all for your continued support, and now for the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Healthcare Education Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, F. Scott Field, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Brandon Pone and Stephanie Wyrock. Today, we have a former guest on the show, Greg Todd, the co-owner of Renewal Rehabilitation, which includes 3 clinics now in the Tampa, Florida area. He's also the creator of Physical Therapy Builder, which includes Smart Success Physical Therapy, which helps physical therapists and other healthcare providers find the ideal job, negotiate salaries, monetize themselves in a way that's beyond a little bit of traditional billing purposes. It also helps promote branding themselves on social media. And a disclaimer, both myself and Brandon have taken the Smart Success PT class. Brandon was in the 3rd cohort. I was in the 5th. Greg, what's new in the world of Greg Todd?
I'm older. I'm older. My kids are older. I've got 2 teenagers in the house now. I got a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old. I got a 10-year-old. I got a 5-year-old. My kids, the last time we had an interview, guys, it was right after SSPT, live the first time around, right? Okay,
Correct.
so now I homeschool my children, and I just did PE right before I did PE and tennis with my youngest one. We've opened up another clinic. I have another company, a virtual assistant agency in the Philippines. So we have 5 businesses now. SSPT has obviously grown, and yeah, so I'm doing a lot, having fun, man, having a lot of fun.
Well, that's the best part of it because, I mean, as Scott kind of mentioned like earlier that, we're both involved with SSPT earlier on. And actually, to be completely frank, like you and Jeff Moore were among like the 2 like biggest role models for me earlier on, and you still are. But you guys just have really taught me a tremendous amount of stuff, that really helped me get out of a bad place. So I appreciate all that you guys do. And I know last time we kind of went through a little bit of some stuff on Smart Success, but today we kind of wanted to get kind of a full picture of kind of the story about you, how it all came to be, and kind of what it includes, and also kind of go at some things that I know maybe some skeptics have said about it too, just to kind of set the tone and clear that up a little bit. But first comes to first here, Greg. Let's start back from the very beginning here. What is your story with how you became, a therapist, a business owner, and then ultimately how you came up with Smart Success PT?
Yeah, so I became a therapist in 2000 is when I graduated, December of 2000. Started practicing literally, I think like 2 days after I got my license. And so funny because I'm looking on Facebook right now and all these kids are like, getting their results. So that's like kind of, I was reminiscing a little bit. But the truth of the matter is that I didn't want to be a business owner. My dad works for a company called Primerica. I wanted to be as far away from that as possible. I wanted the white picket fence. I wanted a 2.5 kids, and I just wanted to work 9 to 5. I mean, that's really what I wanted. The issue is that, I started off at a low pay, but the pay wasn't really so much, as a problem. My wife and I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. We were happy. I ended up moving up to Tampa Bay. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment there, and then we decided to get a house. The issue is that we were not able to spend time together. She was getting her master's in teaching. I was working as a clinic director, and we were having problems in our marriage that were stemming from lack of time and communication. So time was what I was searching for, and the places that I was working at, even though I was making the clinic successful, they did not want to work with me with regards to allowing me to get back time so I could spend time with my wife. So just to give you a quick background, what was happening is that I was working for a corporation. It was a brand new startup clinic for that corporation. I was also overseeing a satellite clinic that they had at a place called Saddlebrook, Florida. I was working with WTA and ATP Tour tennis players. So if I was working from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. after work, about 5 to 6 months out of the year, tennis players were in Saddlebrook. I was going to Saddlebrook at 8, 9 o'clock at night and finishing at midnight, getting home by close to 1 a.m. and repeating that over and over and over again. And then I felt very inferior that I was working with these top 5 players in the world. At one point, I was working with 3 top 10 players in the world, and I was only 3.5 years out of school. So I felt very inferior when it came to my clinical skills. And then I felt like, you know what, I need to get even better, like faster, to work with these people, because I know I'm not the top therapist in the world and I'm working with the top players in the world. So on weekends, I was going to St. Augustine. I was doing my manual therapy stuff. And look, man, it just put a massive strain on our relationship from a time standpoint. And when I went to my boss said, I don't really care. And so I was forced into entrepreneurship. I did not want to do it. Well, again, fast forward now 10 years later, lots of people were following my path. There were some of my employees telling me, Greg, they were techs and they were in PT school, and they're like, Greg, a lot of the kids that are in our school are really frustrated with the situation that they're basically seeing when they're going to their clinicals, and they need you. I was like, well, what do you want me to do? And literally, guys, that day, Chantel, who was a tech at my office, said to me, let me just use my brand new iPhone and do a video. Just tell the people, should they be a physical therapist? That's the video right now that's got the 200,000 views on YouTube. That's how all this started. It started because my staff told me there was a problem, and that's where everything started from. So now since then, that video turned into another video, which turned into another video, which turned into 80 videos, which turned into 100 videos. And then it got to the point where people wanted more. And when people wanted more, I started to give them more, and I started to give them more of my time. But at this point, I had already reached pretty successful levels at my clinics. What was happening was that I was giving people my time, and now I was taking more time away from my wife again. And because people weren't invested in it, they're like, oh my gosh, you know so much, you can help me. And I was setting aside 6 hours a day for people for free, and then they weren't showing up. And then my wife and it created more friction. She's like, do you really want to spend time with me, or do you want to spend time with these people? And then I realized, no, if I'm going to do this, I have to make sure that they have skin in the game too, because I'm not going to let it ruin my marriage. And that was how Smart Success PT was born. So that's it. That's a story.
So, Greg, if you wouldn't mind, give the audience a brief snapshot of what Smart Success PT entails.
Smart Success PT covers what I believe is not covered in traditional schooling. There is traditional schooling, and then there is self-education. I obviously could not be a physical therapist today without traditional schooling, right? But Smart Success PT covers everything that I learned, at least what I feel are the most important pieces of self-education that has allowed me to get to the point that I'm at today as a consultant, as a practice owner, as a leader for my company, and as the owner of multiple business and financially sound. And basically, we deal with personal development. We deal with how to actually navigate through the goals that you want in your career. We deal with understanding insurance and billing and collections. We deal with direct marketing and understanding the premise of how you actually attract clients without actually going through a traditional referral provider. We deal with how to do one-to-many services, and that's through online, whether that is online courses, that's books, that's different digital products. We deal with how to present in the clinics so that the layperson can understand what you do and there could be more buy-in. I teach people how to be financially sound. And at the end, if people decide that they want to go into business, I teach them what they need to be looking for in the metrics in business. That's basically the premise of the platform.
Yeah, and Greg, I want to kind of, we'll come back to SSBT because, I mean, there's a lot, of course, within that you had kind of mentioned there, but I also want to go a little bit more in depth on the live event and kind of why and how why was the reasoning and story behind why you started the event, and what's SSP Live consist of, man?
Okay, so, all right, here's the real story behind the event, okay? So I finished season 2 of SSPT, right? So I'm doing this thing in launches. And in season 2, it was just totally different. Like, I now had a good idea of, okay, yes, the people love this stuff. And it was just more structured. The first time around, it was just people were kind of coming in. I had 10 people total that came in the first season, if you want to call it that. And then in season 2, I don't know, man, something like clicked. There was chemistry with the people. So there were 2 students in season 2 that said, we need to meet you in person. I'm like, okay. They're like, we're flying down. I'm like, what? So literally, it was Chanel Yoder and it was Nate Agnes. And they said that they were going to fly down to meet me. Well, I'm like, well, if you're going to fly down to meet me, I'm going to meet you. So they flew down and met me at this restaurant called the Columbia Restaurant in Clearwater Beach. And after being with them for 5 minutes, they're like, oh my gosh, this is totally real. This is like this is real. And we ended up spending 3 hours together. And after that, I'm like, okay, well, we need to all meet up. So I had, at that point, I had 27 students. I'm like, I wonder if half of them would actually come to my clinic and we can just have a bunch of treatment tables and we'll just like hang out for like a weekend. You know what I mean? And we'll talk shop and talk this and talk that and whatnot. And then one day I was listening to, I think, some Tony Robbins, and I was driving on to Clearwater because we had just purchased, a vacation home in Indian Rocks Beach, which is pretty close to the hotel. And I was like, gosh, there's this brand new hotel going up. And I was just like, felt like I could, firewalk, you know what I mean? So I literally called the hotel up. I'm like, hey, can I get like a meeting room? And they're like, yeah, we're brand new. We don't have any, people yet. I'm like, man, how awesome would it be? And then that's it. I said, let's get 25 people. And 25 people bought a ticket. I actually gave like all the tickets for free. Like, I gave all the tickets for free to like the first 30 people. And then after that, I was like, crap, this is costing a lot of money. I'm like, I need to sell these things now. So I sold it for like $100, and we did 200, and we did 300, and we ended up having 70 people. And Brandon, you were there. Yeah, you were there for that first one. And we had 70 people. And it was magical, man. It was just so awesome. So that's the reason why it really started. But then something also, came about it as well. And you guys have to understand, this stuff is hard, man. It's hard investing in so many people on such a deep level, and I understand why they're skeptics. It's like, you can't believe, people have never seen this before. And it takes a lot of time away from my family. So, and at a point where I don't have to do this anymore. So, I got 4 kids. I have my wife who all she wants is my time. And when she went to the first event and she sat with the people and cried with some of the people and they told them what her husband was doing for them, she said, all right, I'm gonna give you another year with this. So now the events are basically for me to do this another year, to get my wife to buy in, to like letting me continue to do this, So there's a lot of reasons. Now it's a big family. It's a brotherhood. It's a sisterhood. It's a family. obviously there's good content and good material and all the other stuff there, but it's bigger than this. And I think, I was telling this to Paul Goff. He was at my house yesterday, and I was like, maybe I'm overcompensating a little bit, because the truth is that my ascension and my path to becoming what I've become in PT was really lonely. It was my family, it was my wife and my 4 kids and my patients and my staff. And it was no PTs. PTs were basically like all telling me, you can't do it, you're this, you're that, you're color. But there were so many, I can tell you so many things that people told me on why I wasn't going to be able to be successful, that I alienated myself from the profession. So, I think I'm overcompensating now because I missed out on so much of that. And maybe I'm overdoing it. I don't know. But basically, I want people to have their colleagues support them and having big dreams and them not feeling awkward about it. So it's kind of bigger now.
And, Greg, SSPT Live and SSPT have really grown since, you went to that restaurant in Clearwater Beach. So tell us a little bit about its growth and kind of what the outcome has been.
So the first year, Stephanie, we had 70 people. The first year of SSPT Live, we had 70. Last year, we had 220. And this year, we have, as of right now, we have like 400. We have over 440. There's like 468, actually, it's 469 that's registered, but like not everybody will come and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll have over 400. So we've doubled year over year over year. So that has been wild. And then SSPT started, it took me 2 months to get 10 people. And now we have 475 or something like that. I don't even know now. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. And, initially it was mostly newer. Well, no, it's not really true. The first season, it was anyone from not even in PT school yet to DPT students. We had new grads. We had a 15-year therapist and we had a 34-year therapist. So we had everything in between. Now SSPT is 70% female, 30% male. And so that's kind of interesting because, everybody used to see this black dude with these superhero shirts on. He's like, now he's becoming the mom's mentor, right? That's like the joke. I'm like the mom's mentor, right? And so I think the reason is because I have just shared my story. I speak my truth. And I think people realize that family means more to me than anything. And I think that, that people see that I'm just on a quest to gain as much time as I possibly can back. And I think that resonates with moms, because they're being pulled with career, family, and a lot of people are telling them that they can't have both. And I'm saying, yeah, you can. And so, yeah, so that's kind of the evolution of SSPT.
Yeah, Greg, on that topic of evolution, I mean, you've mentioned a lot of reasons why SSPT has kind of become so successful, but on top of that, talk a little bit about the community and the immense value, not only that you bring them, but that they bring each other, and some of the marketing that's kind of been going on amongst this community.
Yeah, I mean, initially, I have to tell you this, F. Scott. So it was in season 3 that, I spent 7 months, right? Pouring everything in my head of like, this is like, literally, I set up SSPT to be my to be a part of my will for my daughter, right? My oldest wants to take over the business of renewal rehab when I no longer am around. And I was like, man, I'm gonna give them everything I know, man. I know because I've been the administrator, I've been the biller, I've been the top clinician in my clinics, the whole shebang, right? And in season 3 of SSPT, people are like, the content's good, man, but the community's better. I'm like, what? I'm like, what the hell? And I was like, literally, I was like taken aback. I'm like, man, this is good content. But the whole SSPT nation is all about community now. Because at the end of the day, you can have content's everywhere, right? But most people have a hard time with pushing through to the things that they really desire because of people. Because people have, telling you over time, like, oh, you can't do this. Maybe that's not a good idea. And it's not that the people mean bad. It's just that they're trying to protect you. And there have been so many amazing stories of people supporting each other in their quest for whatever it is that they want, right? Like whatever that is. It doesn't have to be business. It can be anything. And, just having your type of people that are like, yeah, I dream big like you and I want it. And then to see them support each other and get it, it's like ridiculous. So right now it's an unstoppable force. And it really is the community. It's not my amazing content, or at least I thought it was amazing.
And I know that I hear a lot about the community and how people really feel supported within SSPT Live. So with that kind of in mind, where do you see SSPT and SSPT Live going? Are there any upcoming changes or goals that you've kind of set for the community?
So Stephanie, I was just talking to F. Scott about this off camera. And, for me, the people will tell me, they'll tell me what's next. Now, I have my personal goal, of a vision of what I believe this can become. And, I basically believe that SSPT Live can be a 5,000 to 10,000 healthcare professional event. And for me, my belief is that we have lots of problems in healthcare. Entrepreneurs stay in business only if they solve problems. So I believe that a lot of our problems in healthcare can be solved by turning healthcare professionals into entrepreneurs. So that's my reasoning for saying, you know what, I want to have a massive event. I want other healthcare professionals that are out there and have this little thing that's stirring inside them that's saying, gosh, this should be this way. I want them to now be able to have the courage 5-10 years from now to be like, if you feel something can be different, why don't you go do something about it? And I want there to be just a massive avalanche of people that are like, you know what, there's a problem with healthcare, I'll change it. And if you change it, you're going to get rewarded for it. And that's really what entrepreneurship is. So that's what I foresee for SSPT Live. I'm sure if that happens, I'm sure SSPT, the actual community, will grow as well. But that's my main reason for seeing it grow. It's just, I've seen what it's done so far. We have over 280 healthcare entrepreneurs that have been created from that one single platform. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and Greg, this is kind of a random hypothetical question here, but say if you're going more and you're noticing you're getting more more generalized healthcare practitioners kind of joining and not just PT related, have you thought about changing the name?
I actually thought about that. I think I'll always keep it Smart Success PT. I'll always have it SSP. Most people know it as SSPT, and a lot of people don't even know what SSPT stands for, right? So I would say SSPT. Maybe one day we'll do SSPT for MDs, SSPT for nurses, SSPT for this. But you want to know something? Here's why we are going to push so hard with this, because again, all these things are created out of your pain, right? When I used to market to docs and there was no respect for me as a provider, it was more like, all right, I feel like I'm competing against the big corporation over here that's giving them Panera bread and paying them off. And I'm just like, gosh, man, they won't respect me. I will never change SSPT, because the truth is that now physicians want in, now these people want in. And I want them to see that physical therapists bring something to the table. So I actually think that, I'm sorry, it's never going to change. Actually, you know what? Put that on camera. Keep this recording, and you tell me the little time mark. It will never change. Even though chiros are coming in now, dietitians are coming in, MDs. If it changes, GT's a sellout. I'm not changing it. Sorry, I'm a PT. Nope. We've been second fiddle for gajillions of years. Finally, we're about to, take it to the top. So I'm not going to punk out.
Greg, you'd mentioned a lot of stuff earlier, and I get that this answer might have changed since our first episode that we had you on, but given the current state of physical therapy as it is now, what are the top pieces of advice that you'd give to student PTs or even just regular clinicians in order to be successful in this day and age?
I don't remember what I said before, but I mean, basically, look, you have to have something that you bring to you have to have value. You have to have some type of value. So this is the thing. I don't think a lot of people understand what value means. Okay? Value means you have to be able to give to people something that they can't do for themselves. Now, if you look at everything that's in SSPT, those are things that a lot of people, like when you come out of school, if you're 10 years out of school, you're 15 years out of school, guess what? Every PT can treat, okay? And by the way, I spend a lot, I spent 180 CEUs in my first 13 months, okay? I'm a MTC. I'm sorry, I'm not an MTC. I have all the courses for MTC. When it was time for me to do the exam is when I was opening up my clinic. So I said, I'll wait till next month. It never happened, okay? CSCS, OCS. Guys, I've become vestibular certified, this, that. Like, I've done all this stuff, right, okay? And what I've realized is that there are many amazing, amazing clinical instructors out there. There are amazing CEU providers, whether it's Jeff and ICE and or this person. These people are incredible. I need to help people with the other things. So marketing, billing, how to present to the layperson so that they get buy-in. Yesterday, we had a client that was pissed about her bill, but because I'm a PT and I understand that, I was able to explain to her and totally diffuse the situation. Someone that rated us a 5-star said she was going to move it to a 1-star, but because I had insurance competence, she's like, okay, we're good now. You know what I mean? Like, these things are so important. How to actually create products so that you're not having to do one-to-one, but one-to-many. Being financially competent. I mean, we can't deny it. Like, there's a lot of financial burden on people. Like, how to get out of that situation. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would teach. You know, that's what I believe in. That's what I would do.
Yeah, Greg, playing devil's advocate a little bit here, some have expressed critiques on SSPT and SSPT Live, including seeing it as a bit of maybe a predatory group that's kind of preying on new professionals, maybe charging too much, members being exclusive to non-SSPT members, pitching or pressuring people at events, disregarding clinical outcomes in lieu of emphasizing basically only what the patient experience portion of care is. How would you respond to some of these skeptics and some of these critiques that you've heard?
Okay, well, I haven't personally heard it, so those skeptics haven't talked to me, but the truth of the matter is that, I don't know, I'd respond to it a few different ways. If it was someone in SSPT that said that, then I feel like I would really have to respond. But the truth of the matter is that about half of SSPT were skeptics. So half of the people that are in SSPT right now were probably saying that. And now they're like, it's the greatest community ever created. So the truth is, a skeptic is someone that, I don't want to say is ignorant, but it's someone that just has never given it the time of day. Now, I've actually told, Brandon off camera, that I would be open to any person that was a skeptic to reach out to me. And if they want to come to my event for free, I'll give them a ticket. Because that's how, then you'll see. Now, let's talk about selling. Well, do I sell? Yeah, I sell. Of course I sell. Because I respect my time. And I want people to get results. So if I don't sell to someone, and I'm going to be very honest with you, and again, I don't want to make this a fight with any organization, but I've spoken at some of the big conferences, right? And what has always, remember, when you're doing your own thing, you can just, you no longer have to complain about the stuff. You can just do what you want to do at your own thing, right? So when I've spoken at PPS or CSM or whatnot, right? And I've spoken on a subject and the people are like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I was told, you can't offer them anything. I feel like that's a disservice to the people. I just gave you all this stuff. You know nothing about social media. You know nothing about this. You're drowning your clinic. You don't know how to lead your people. You don't understand technology. Oh my gosh, this guy just gave me all this stuff. Tell me more. And I had my hands behind my back. I mean, I was handcuffed behind my back. No, I have told everyone that if someone has something that you need, that it can help take your career or your situation to the next level, then go for it, great. If not, don't do it. I mean, that's really it. So anyways, that's what I would say about that. I think, what'd you say, predatory on new grads? Oh gosh, man, I hate predatory. That's creepy. But gosh, that's just like so creepy. I mean, as I said, I think whenever there's something new, you're always going to get people that are just fearful. Like, what are they doing? What's going on? Why is it so? Why is it this? Why is it that? Blah 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 blah. So I mean, I can go into it, at a higher level if you want. But I mean, basically, this is the thing. School taught us at the lowest level of earnings. School taught us at an implementation level. Okay, like that's what we learned in school. We learned how to implement, how to actually treat patients, and that's great. But if you guys want to know how I basically have been able to achieve time freedom and homeschool my kids and run my businesses all from afar, overseeing it, well, it's because I learned the other levels of value, which is communication, managerial, and vision. And there has been nothing that I've ever learned in school from pre-K up until my last year in PT school that's ever taught me any of those three levels. Hey, can I ask the three of you this? Stephanie, F. Scott, Brendan. When you all think of Apple, who do you think of?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
Why didn't you all say Steve Wozniak? He's the one. He's the one that built the first Apple computer. He built the first Mac. He's the one. He's the implementer. Why? Because he's at the lowest level. Steve Jobs was the visionary, and so that's what I teach people. Now, maybe the skeptics don't appreciate that because we have learned only at implementation level, But there's nothing I can really do about that. I can just educate them, but that's it. I don't know what else to say.
Well, and you did, and your video that you did, not in the past, about really thinking that who's the clinician that wins? Is it the clinician who's the best, or is it the one who's best known? And I think that message in there was very, very important, because you can be phenomenal at what you do, but if no one knows about you, your level that you're being able to make impacts is just going to be nowhere near.
It was so frustrating, Brandon. It was so frustrating that I'm here busting my tail, getting all these CEUs, having my OCS. I mean, that's like the greatest feeling for an orthopedic PT, to get your OCS, and then you're basically getting run over by a clinic down the road that has better contacts with providers, and you're like, what? And I can't tell you how many physical therapists are so frustrated with that. So you know what happens? They're just like, what's the point of getting good? What's the point of getting good? That's how so many people felt. And I know that's how they felt because I felt that way, right? And so the reality is that we have to teach people this stuff, or you just put them in a losing situation. And there's nothing worse. If you knew that you were going to play, okay, just a while ago, I told you, I took kid 4 out to go play tennis, right? Okay. All right. And if you know going into it that you're going to lose, why are you going to try? I told him, you can beat daddy, right? And I made it really easy, but he's trying his hardest. If you knew before you even got on the court, you're going to lose, why try hard? And that's the problem right now, is that PTs are put in a losing situation because they don't understand the other levels of value, which really are what makes all the difference, right? And they're like, crap, I can't win, so screw it. I'm hoping everybody cancels today. I'm hoping that, this is no, that's it. And it sucks because PT is such a freaking amazing profession and can do so many amazing things. But if you know you can't win, why should you work hard? And that's just bad for our field. I've just given people an opportunity to win. So I think we're doing pretty good.
Well, and I think that, there's a big issue with mediocrity, I think, in all healthcare fields, not just physical therapy. And one of the things that I know that, the American Physical Therapy Association has been trying to battle is this idea of mediocrity. So that kind of leads me into this next question. It sounds like one of your big visions, Greg, is to try to, elevate the PT profession so that we're not just practitioners, but we're leaders. What types of collaborations have you done with APTA? And if you have or have not done APTA collaborations, tell us a little bit about your relationship with the association.
So, I've spoken here. I'll tell you this, Stephanie. I've spoken at CSM. I've spoken at PPS twice. I love Sharon Dunn. I love her. She's amazing, right? But you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it on this interview. In the last 2 years here, so let me backtrack on why this is the case. 2017 was the last time I spoke at PPS. Okay. If you go back to 2017, you'll see that PPS finished on October 22nd. I was the last talk on that Friday. I took a red eye back home because October 22nd is my son's birthday. And for me, everything is about time, right? And I remember being there and my wife said, "Look at you, you're exhausted," because I wanted to support the APTA. I wanted to be able to bring value, right? And I knew I couldn't sell anything or this was not whatever. So the next year I did not apply to speak. And it was just because more from a family standpoint that when I created SSPT and my wife said, "If you're going to continue this, you can't speak anymore. Okay. We don't need you away." Okay. But this year I begged my wife and I said, "Carrie, please, can I speak? It's in Orlando. Can we just make a kid's field trip out of it?" Okay. All right. Cause we homeschool. It's the AT Home Academy, right? Okay, cool. So I want to tell you this, Stephanie, I actually put in a talk. I thought with the influence that I have today, I thought that they would go for this talk, and it was called the E to E formula. And it was how entrepreneurs and employees can win together. They denied it. Now, the way that I run Renewal Rehab is that I have employees. But the reason why we have 200 plus 5-star reviews between our clinics is because our employees have the ability to be entrepreneurs. They have the ability to win, which means that there is no mediocrity. I wanted to show that at PPS this year, and they denied it. What am I supposed to do? So the reality is that I don't know if it's just too much, too early. Maybe they'll eventually go for it, but I've tried to collaborate. I don't really know what else I'm supposed to do.
Did they give you any reason on why it was denied?
Just said after careful deliberation, we had a lot of entries to, I think it was the typical, response. And look, I have no problem with it. But I just don't want people to say, look, I don't care what people say. Obviously you guys realize if you listen to my live streams, I could give a crap what. Man, I'm an old man at this point. All right. I'm an old man. I got 4 kids. I did not get to this point caring what people say. Okay. But I love my profession. And if I can do anything to help my profession in any way, I'll do it. But apparently they're just not ready for that message. So.
Well, and Greg, if I put a little bit of attention on one thing, and you did a video on this earlier looking at the APTA's Vision 2020, in which they had talked about quite a few things in there that were some really good goals to really hit at. And one of them being, of course, innovation. And then one of the things in there was, I don't remember the exact wording, but it was something along the lines of connecting with social entrepreneurs. But I think it's interesting that that's in the vision.
Yeah. And, here, I'll say this. It's not like they've never had me on, or they've never had other I guess personalities on or whatnot. But, I don't know. As I said, I don't know what goes on behind the decisions and stuff like that. I've invited Sharon to SSPT Live. And I know it's always been a conflict because LSU graduates that weekend or whatnot. But man, I just want our profession to win. That's what I want. And I tell you this: the minute the APTA does everything that SSPT is doing, I'm done. I'm finished, and my wife will be really happy. I am retiring, and I am freaking just having margaritas every other day on the beach. I am finished. But there are things that are not being covered in schools. There are things that are not being covered in CEU courses that I right now am covering. And more importantly, there's a lot of infighting within our profession. And I am solving that problem through a community that I've created. And everybody knows if you come in this community and you act a fool, especially because I don't need your money, because I'm already wealthy, you're out. So the reality is that once all that is done, Greg Todd's out. I'm finished. I would love to be invited to the Graham sessions. And I don't even travel. I don't travel. Like, the agreement I made with my wife is that if I'm doing this SSPT live thing, you no longer travel. Okay? You no longer are traveling, because I used to be a private practice consultant for private practices. No traveling, fine. All the people can come here. Okay, I can be totally overwhelmed for 3.5 days of all these people, but you no longer travel. I would make an exception because I've never been invited to this thing, but I would love to show the APTA why Smart Success PT has done what it's done. And I would love to show them exactly the blueprint that we need to do for the APTA to basically ramp up membership by over 30 to 40%. I know it. I've done it. I proved it. I just need to be invited to it.
So the Graham Sessions is an open invitation conference. They used to do about 10 years ago closed invitation where you were invite only, but they don't do that anymore. So you can definitely come next year. I don't know where it's going to be yet. They typically don't announce it until, probably like June or July where it's going to be. But yeah, you should totally come.
I mean, I you know what? If someone forwards it to me and I have enough time to be able to talk to Mrs. Todd, then I will go, because I want to see it. I want to see this do well. I just want to see it do well. And as I said, if we could get the same culture that is created, I mean, if they want it, you know what I mean? We can get the same culture that's created in SSPT with the APTA. I think we're unstoppable. I think we're unstoppable as a profession. But, everybody has to be willing,
Well, and Graham Sessions is a place where all the, a lot of the influencers in PT meet.
Right.
And just being in that room is amazing. And all the people that make the decisions are in there listening. A lot of them don't even get up and talk. They just listen. And so, we want people there with differing opinions so that we can really take the best viewpoints, opinions, experiences, evidence, and create the best profession that we can. Because ultimately, healthcare is always changing. If we don't start stepping up and leading in healthcare, we're going to get left behind. And as physical therapists, we're in a perfect position to really lead healthcare into being something that's cost effective, efficient, and patient-centered. And that's what ultimately lawmakers want, patients want, and practitioners want.
I totally agree.
Yeah, Greg, I think it's good for our audience to hear that, even somebody that, has a personality and a platform, gets rejected by APTA and by, certain sections at times. I think, like you said, it's a large ship. It's tough to turn. It's not going to turn quickly. And so, may just not be in alignment with them for right now. 5-10 years down the line, they may see that it was in alignment and try to make that correction and make that turn. But, if you have a true belief or a system that you want to push and you think it's worth and working and it's worth it, then I think you just keep doing it, whether, APTA is on board or not, and just hope that, other people will catch up with it at some point.
Hey, can I say this though? So I want to bring you guys back to pre-SSPT. Let's go back to 2010, 11. In 2010, 11, I actually submitted a proposal to APTA PPS. And the proposal was on me showing them how I've been able to do blogs and build my SEO and start to, and at that time, I don't even know if I was totally in social media, but that proposal was rejected. And y'all, look, people get rejected all the time. It's okay. And nobody knew who the heck Greg Todd was at that time or whatnot, right? Okay, so I got rejected for that proposal in 2010, I believe, 2011, 2012. I was pretty sick in 2013. I don't even think I applied. 2014, I got rejected 4 times. 2015, the same proposal, they accepted it. The only reason why I even presented that one and even submitted was because it was in Orlando, like how it is this year. And I said, you know what the heck, let's go for it. And I found out that Gary Vee was keynoting it. Like, oh yeah, you know, I was all Gary Vee junkie at that point, whatnot, in 2015, and they accepted it. I remember, I think it's Cynthia Gonzalez, I believe, said that you realize that your talk was like one of the highest rated talks of the conference. So F. Scott, it's exactly what you said. I don't know when they're ready, but I mean, I'm not hating on them, but I just don't want people to say, well, I mean, I don't really care what people say, but it's just not true that I don't want to collaborate. That's not true, you know? And as I said, if there is a big name in the APTA that wants to come to SSPT Live, if you reach out to me personally and just tell me you listen to this podcast, I will comp your ticket for free. You figure out I ain't paying for your hotel. That hotel is damn expensive, but I'll comp your ticket. And yeah, and you can just see for yourself, you know?
Well, Greg, you know, we can't thank you enough for coming on and taking your time to do this interview with us. And, you know, knowing that you've answered our final question in the past, you know, if you could change one aspect of healthcare education, which aspect would you change and how would you change it? You've already answered that twice now, with your previous answers being able to do, you know, a rock star evaluation for all students and then teaching marketing. What is a third thing or a new thought that's come to you lately that you think about changing?
I would, there's no doubt that I would push entrepreneurship. Like, I would totally push it. I would say, look, if you're seeing things, if you're out on your clinicals and you're seeing things that you're like, hey, wait a minute. What? I want them to know that you actually can do your own thing. Like you can. And I want them to not be indoctrinated with this whole thought that you can only do your own thing if you have 5 years of clinical experience. The reality is this. The reality is that, yes, I think it's important for you to hone your craft and become better at it. But business skills and clinical skills have absolutely nothing to do with each other. They have absolutely positively nothing to do with each other. There are some amazing businesses with some crappy clinicians. Okay? There are some terrible businesses with amazing clinicians. There are clinicians that were my CIs that had to shut down because they never elevated in business the way they elevated as a clinician. And so I would like there to be at least some type of acknowledgement that entrepreneurship is definitely an option. And it's an option that you can take at any point in your career, not after X amount of years. I would also like for there to be a little bit more of talk about money and the importance of learning how to create money and wealth. Because the truth is that 18 years ago when I became a PT, it wasn't the same investment. It just wasn't. It was, you know, $15,000. You have to add a zero to most people's bills now. So I think that there should be a good amount of emphasis on how you create wealth. And the way you create wealth is by doing one-to-many services. Like that's a way. So anyways, that's what I would change.
I definitely think that money is something that in school they try to downplay a lot. I don't think that is emphasized enough. And I noticed that a lot of business owners get a little, when you start talking about salaries, they get a little jumpy. So I think that, you know, I've listened to a lot of your videos on salaries, and I think that you make good points. And a lot of times students are told that, you know, negotiating is not necessarily something that they should do.
You know something? Well, Stephanie, I want to tell you something. This happened at PPS 2017. I'm getting ready to do my talk, right? I'm like 30 minutes from doing my talk, and I'm just kind of walking around, and this guy stops me and says, "Hey, are you the YouTube guy?" And I was like, yeah. I think so. He's like, yeah, you're the dude who works through. He's like, listen, man, I don't like your video that you put out about salaries. Now you got people questioning, like what I'm paying them. Look, at the end of the day, I want to, and so anyways, we ended up talking. I didn't get upset with them. I was like, no, look, man, this is the reason why. I was like, I want them to understand how this works. I want to make students financially competent. And 10 minutes later, he was my client. so that was pretty funny. But the big thing is that students need to be financially competent and understand how this works. Like, just because your loans are $200,000 doesn't mean you should get paid this certain amount. Like everybody's just got to understand how this whole thing works. And then from there, everybody can make their choices. Okay, everybody can make their choices. But you want to know what bothers me? What bothers me is what you just said, is that it's taboo in school, and then you graduate, and you're pumped. You pass your boards, and you put your Prometric score on Instagram, and then you get out there and you realize, oh my gosh, you get that first student loan bill. And then you realize that the market is not paying what they told you. And then you get angry. And then you feel dejected. And then you feel like, you know what, I'm in a losing situation. And then, you know what, you got to go to work and treat patients. Now, someone in that mindset, are they going to do like what's in the best interest of the patient? Yeah, but are they going to be at their best? No. So is that good for PT? I don't think so.
Well, and a lot of it, like you had said, I mean, a big part of it, and I know you've done a lot of videos, not on just salaries, but just on that's the way the numbers are when it comes to reimbursement. Like, here's, this is just the numbers, and this is just how we have to do for the time being. And there's opportunities and ways to do it, but, it can be very easy, especially like your first year out when, myself personally, like I felt like lost clinically, like I had no idea what I was doing. So I was trying to do CEUs and stuff to figure that out. And then I wasn't really getting helped financially to do that. So then loans on top of that. And then you're just like, holy cow.
Yeah, you feel lost, man. It's just like, whoa, what the heck, I just know that there's a way out. Like, there's a way to do it. And everyone's situation is different and it's unique. But, I just want to give people the ability to know that you have a way to win in your situation. That's it. Like that's all I want. And if we do that, if every single day you can go to work and you're like, wait a minute, I know that I'm actually moving towards something that I want. It's just like, gosh, it just creates it's better for everyone. It's better for the patient. It's better for your home life. It's better for your dog. It's better for your cat. It's better for your spouse. It's better for your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Everybody's happier because you feel like you're in a winning situation, or at least you're moving towards something. When you don't, it's depressing, man. It's just depressing.
No, I agree with that. And Greg, I really appreciate, you coming on again today to share, your insight, your story, and a lot of other great things and tips throughout the way. I know that people are probably, if they haven't seen you on YouTube or on social media by now, but if people do want to reach out to you and see kind of what you're doing and such, where can they find you?
GregToddTV.com is my website. And then on Facebook, I go live pretty much every day. Facebook.com/ThePTBuilder. I go live at about 7:30 every morning. As soon as I take my pre-workout before my workout, and I will chatter for a little bit and just tell people what's on my mind. And on Instagram, Greg Todd PT. YouTube is Greg Todd PT as well. And I have a podcast called The Hunt for Greatness. And yeah, that's it.
Well, perfect, Greg. And again, thank you so much for not even just coming on today, but for all your help, at least for all of us in SSPT that have gone through it, for all the the immense guidance and help that you've given all of us to achieve what we've wanted to achieve. Because I'm going to be real honest, if I didn't go through SSPT, there's a good chance I wouldn't have started this podcast and reached out and done this. So I have you to thank for that.
I remember that day when you came to me about the idea. I'm like, go for it, dude. Let's do it. And so anyways, it's great to see what you all have done with it, the three of you. So congratulations.
Well, thank you, Greg, and keep crushing it. Let's get it.
Thank you.
Access to healthcare is one of the largest issues facing both providers and patients, as millions of people worldwide lack timely and affordable access to healthcare. Anywhere Healthcare, a telehealth platform, is a simple, low-cost option for providers and patients that eliminates the barriers to access to all kinds of healthcare. To find out more, check out anywhere.healthcare, which is available in our show notes. And if you use the code HET in all caps when you email to sign up, you'll save 25% off the total cost.
Thank you for attending class today, and we hope that you learned something and gained value from the content.
If you'd like to schedule office hours with us, feel free to add us on Twitter at HET Podcast, on Instagram, HET Podcast, on Facebook, the Healthcare Education Transformation Podcast, and the homepage, healthcareeducationtransformationpodcast.com.
And for those of you following along in the syllabus, extra credit can be obtained by liking us, sharing us, and leaving a review.
Let's continue our journey up Mount Educational Success as lifelong learners.